Hello and welcome to another Young Adult Book Talk with the Massillon Regional Library. I'm Miss Stephanie, one of the librarians in the Youth Services Department, and today I have 3 books related to the African American experience because February is Black History Month. And before I get started, I wanted to say that obviously I'm not African American, and I just wanted to be really careful about not putting my views on the African American experience. So what I'm doing instead this month is I've picked 3 African American authors, and I'm just going to tell you about their books, and I will let you, hopefully you'll be interested in one of them, and you can read for yourself about their own experiences in their own words. But I do just want to say that I really enjoyed all 3 of these books, and I highly recommend them. So let's start with On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, and this is the author who also wrote The Hate U Give, and she's following the story of Bree. She is a 16-year-old whose main goal in life is to be a rap star because she's inspired by her late father, who was also a rap star, but he was unfortunately killed by a rival 4 years earlier. And Bree is seeing a career in rap as a way of getting out of her life, like supporting her widowed mother, like struggling to keep on the lighting and the gas each month. So as one of the few African American students at her school, special arts school, Bree feels really targeted by one security guard. So in response to it, she writes a rap song which conveys all of her frustration and weariness from the struggles of this racism in her life. And this song brings her some fame online through social media, but it also brings her trouble because the public just is branding Bree as an angry black girl rather than listening to the causes of her anger and her frustration over the racism in her life. And to make things even more complicated, Bree's father's old manager is trying to cater to that stereotype just to get fame and money. So this story is just basically talking about how Bree is fighting to let the world know that her words and her passion that her song expresses cannot conform to a stereotype. And if you enjoy reading The Hate U Give, you will definitely like reading this book as well because it has the same power and raw emotion that book had as well. The second book is actually a graphic novel of the book The Long Way Down, which is the #1 bestseller, and this is written by Jason Reynolds. And this tells the story of Will and the devastating effect that gun violence has had on his life. And the story begins when Will's brother Sean is shot in broad daylight in the basketball court. And devastated, Will vows to get revenge by shooting the Dark Sun gang member that he thinks killed Sean. And Rick believes that this is following the rules that his brother Sean has passed down. And there's 3 rules. The rules are, number 1, crying, don't no matter what. Number 2, snitching, don't no matter what. And number 3, revenge. If someone you love gets killed, you find out who killed them and kill them in response. And that's very grim. And Will makes these responses in order to avenge his brother's death and to keep his memory and his honor by following the rules that have been passed down. And I'm just going to tell you that the invention of the rule, this is a direct quote from the book, the invention of the rules ain't come from my brother, my friends, my dad, my uncle, the guys outside, the hustlers, the shooters, and definitely not for me. The rules weren't meant to be broken. They were meant for the broken to follow. However, there's a twist because the morning that Will's planning to go meet the gang member outside of his building and shoot him, Will goes down the elevator to confront him. And the elevator is stopping in each floor. And the elevator door opens, and each time a different person enters the elevator to speak to Will and tries to convince him that he's making the wrong decision. And the plot twist is that each of these people are dead. And I'm not going to tell anymore because it's going to give it away too much if I say who the people are that enter the elevator. But so I will say that each person's stories force Will to see how the rules won't help him heal from his pain of losing his brother. Rather, they're going to cause even more of it. So I just would highly recommend reading the graphic novel and or the original book to find out for yourself. And real quick, I'm just going to show you a couple examples from this graphic novel because of the pictures and the art style. The first one is where they're talking about the rules, and here's the picture of Will debating and going over the rules and that quote that I mentioned to you earlier. And then I just wanted to show you a shot of where Will is going down the elevator, and just the pictures just do a really good job of conveying the hurt and frustration that Will is dealing with. And so there is here's another book that definitely conveys the African American experience in terms of gun violence. And the last book that I'm going to talk about today is called All the Days Past, All the Days to Come. And this is actually, Mildred Taylor wrote this, and it's actually the last book in a long line of series, which started with Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, which won the Newbery in 1977. And I actually read this book in middle school, and I thought it was very good, very powerful, talking about Cassie Logan's experiences with racism in the Great Depression in Mississippi. And so this book, All the Days Past and All Days to Come. Okay, so this book picks up in 1944 when Cassie is 20 years old. She wants to travel to Ohio to escape racism in Mississippi, but she still encounters it in a more subtle form. The book covers 20 years where Cassie lives across the country from Ohio to California to Boston, and she eventually makes her back way to her family's land in Mississippi. And she accomplishes a lot in those 2 decades, with her biggest achievements going to law school and becoming a black woman attorney, which is extremely rare in that time, as well as her participation in the civil rights movement, which is in full swing during these 2 decades. And Taylor includes many historical events during this book, including the assassination of Medgar Evers, who was a secretary in the NAACP, many civil rights heroes such as Don Lewis, the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee, Malcolm X, among other historical figures and events. And Taylor intertwines these historical events with Cassie's story and how they impact her and her family for better or worse. And I will say that I have not read of all Taylor's books related to Cassie and her family. Just Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, and the second book, Let the Circle Be Unbroken. However, I still enjoyed reading this book and learning about how Cassie's journey and finding her place in a segregated America, as well as seeing how many historical events through these 2 decades affected her life. And as the book is told from her first-person perspective, the narrative feels more personal and insightful as a result. And Cassie fills in the gaps from the previous books in a way that both gives the reader the background information without taking away the plot of this book. So here's 3 books that convey the African American experience, and each of these authors wrote many more books that are very good and very powerful as well. And I hope that you are able to read one and just get a feel of their thoughts and their voices and what they experience in America, both in the past and today. Thank you so much for joining me for this book talk this month. I look forward to sharing more books with you soon. Have a good day. Bye.